let's look ahead to the next game. It's going to be a very interesting clash because Sri Lanka have had the worst of the weather so far, and we're expecting better weather for the match against Australia. But the moment the sun shines, what an opposition to come up against.
I know, finally you missed a couple of easy. Wait, who's up? Australia. Okay, Stark is going to come into bowl right now at me. Yeah, it's something that I don't think. I mean, Sri Lanka will just have to say that, look, weather's gone this way. The one good thing about the weather is maybe it's given them a chance to sort of sit as a team, spend time together as a team and say, you know, what do we want to do in this World Cup? What can we achieve as a unit? Malinga should hopefully be back by that time, and that's important for them because his coming back is really important to this side. And I think they just need to, the only thing Sri Lanka can do under these circumstances, because they've had a downward slide in the last, 18 to 24 months in international cricket. They just need to see, whatever it is, let's at least show great attitude out here. And that's one thing that they haven't looked like so far. The great Sri Lankan sides of the 90s and 2000s, or even under the likes of Sangakkara and Mahela, were a very united side. They'd punch above their weight. That's what Sri Lanka is not doing today, and I think that's here. That's not just here, that's here, and I think they're not perfectly there right now.
But also what's happening from here, Robin, is when we heard about them lodging a complaint about the surfaces they've played on, that sort of came as a surprise. When I first heard Sri Lanka lodged a complaint, I thought it would be about the covers, the weather, not that who do you complain to about the weather. But I honestly thought it was about that, but it was a serious complaint about the surfaces.
Well, see, I think, with the current state of affairs after Mahela and Sangakkara retired, and the likes of with Dilshan as well, I think what's happened in Sri Lanka cricket with their experience over the last 18 to 24 months, they've lost a lot of confidence, right? And that's affected them deeply. And the fact that the team's been changed so much has bred so much insecurity. It's hard to perform when you're not secure of your position, and then you play on challenging conditions, and then you experience defeats after defeats. Then they really have nothing to stand up for, right? You feel defeated. Even you're always behind the 8 ball even before the balls, like the first ball of the game started even, right? So it would take a little time for Sri Lankan cricket to come back to where it was till say 2015, 2016. It would take a little bit of time, but I think if people can be patient and the administration can be patient with persisting with a set bunch of players for a period of time, then they'll actually see results happening. Because if you support a group for a period of time and you make sure that you're giving them enough resources to be successful abroad and at home, then you know that over a period of time they'll build confidence and become truly good players and a real contending side. So I think what they should do is kind of, if they've made a group right now, they should have a plan as to what they're going to do 2 years down the line, who are the players that they're going to nurture for the next World Cup, and keep that bunch of players and have a little bit of flexibility, a little give of 5 players or so, and then just shift between those, because it's a small country, so your resources are limited. So you make sure that with that in mind, you plan for the next World Cup. So over a period of 4 years, you make sure that you have a team that you build to the next World Cup. And they can start from here right now. They can actually do that. But they just have to get that plan in place. Once that plan's in place for them, I think once they start they'll start experiencing victories abroad and at home. That would give them a lot of confidence. And then repeating that process will make them stronger players. You'll see stronger individual players, coming out of that group. And then you find leaders within the group. And then by the time the next World Cup comes, you're like, hey, that's a good side. Like the kind of respect we have for Bangladesh today. You look at them and you feel, hey, that's a good side. They can give any team a run for their money on their day. So don't write them off. And that's the kind of team that you will see if a process is followed. Right now, it seems a little haywire in Sri Lankan cricket, but I'm sure Sri Lankan supporters and the people of that country want their team to do well and support their team, because they're extremely passionate people. And you hope for their sake that there's a process that's put in place that actually serves their cricket in the years to come.
Yeah, I think it's good advice. If anyone in Sri Lanka is listening, every word that Robin Uthappa said, including the Bangladeshis listening in there, that's a good example to follow. But let's have a look at their squad, because remember, they haven't played for 10 days, and that's a huge gap. They've had a couple of washouts. They wish that the Australia game would have been that 1 point stolen. We still haven't really seen much from Jeffrey Van der Say or Sirivardhana. Avishka Fernando was talked about so much. Maybe this is the time to start getting these guys in with Nuwan Pradeep still injured.
No, absolutely. I definitely throw in Avishka Fernando, though he's an opening batsman. He's a very exciting talent. The truth of it is that their basic problem has been that the talent that they thought would take over from Jayawardene and Sangakkara, the two of the guys were, one was Dinesh Chandimal, who they thought was the next big bat, and the other was Angelo Matthews. And Dinesh has somehow faded off, and even Angelo has not given the kind of results, or at least over the last 3, 4, 5 years. Maybe it's injury.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing, Joy. That when you're chopping and changing so much, now if Dinesh Chandimal was given, like said, okay, you're in charge of the team for the next 2 years, we're not touching the team, we'll work with you and build a side, things would have been different today. If they had done this 3 years ago, as in, if they had that perception to say, okay, Sangha and Dilshan and Jayawardene have retired, where do we take Sri Lankan cricket from here? What's the best way to approach this? And said, okay, we have a few of these youngsters who seem exciting, and there's a certain bunch that seems like they can take Sri Lankan cricket forward. Let's persist with them. And when we persist with them, maybe in 2 years, let's not look at just 3 series or 4 series or 5 bilateral series. Let's give them 2 years. Let them play 2 years of competitive cricket around the world internationally and see what comes out of that. And if it doesn't work there, let's tinker a little bit. Let's not change the whole system. But what has happened is they're changing the whole system once every 6-8 months, and that's bred insecurity, and that's bred the performance that they're seeing today.
Yes, so plenty for Sri Lanka to think about. Maybe we will expect some changes, but again, it's a lot dependent. The only thing we're sure of, yes, Malinga's back and Numan Pradeep is injured. Let's move on to Australia, because it's going to be a challenge for them as well, because with a team like Sri Lanka, who are tending to be unpredictable, who can be dangerous if they want to, that for Australia could be the unknown factor. Now, this is what we've had from the last game. We know Marcus Stoinis has that injury. Mitchell Marsh will be a replacement as and when, but not at the moment. They'll be picking from this particular squad.
Yeah, so obviously somebody walks in. I mean, the team they played, I'd be surprised not to see Zampa back. Unless the conditions are again so overcast that it's going to seem for all the day. I think Zampa is an important bowler for them, and he needs to come back for them, because they need a little bit of variety in their bowling that they don't have right now. And I think otherwise they're a set side. Their batting looks decent. I mean, they want probably Maxwell to go on and get few more, but otherwise they're okay. They'll take that defeat in India and say we were beaten by a very good side playing at the top of their game. It's not that they were smashed to defeat or something. It was a decent, they put up a fight and they were beaten by a better side, and I think they still have a chance to improve. They're still not as good as they could be.
Sean Marsh, perhaps the one question mark you're looking at. How do you think they'll treat this game? Because I mean, you can't be complacent no matter what problems Sri Lanka are going through, but yet they'll know that this is 2 points that should be in the bag.
Gautam, there's something about the Australian team when it comes to the World Cups, because they've won this thing 5 times in the past. There's a certain aura and energy that they come into World Cups with, right? And they've got the right kind of momentum winning those 7 or 8, 9 one-day internationals before coming in here. And you see that they're really, really confident, right? And I think this game would be the ideal game for Australia to work out different permutations and combinations within their side. Not just in the playing 11, but even who bowls when, who bats where, and who needs to get batting practice out in the middle, who needs to go out there and score runs. So they can use this game and a couple of other games in this tournament to actually work out certain permutations and combinations. I wouldn't be surprised if Jason Behrendorff gets a game. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I wouldn't be surprised if Mitchell Starc is rested or Kane Richardson is rested. I wouldn't be surprised if Pat Cummins comes in bowls at one change instead of opening the bowling.
Because Behrendorff would obviously.
Because Behrendorff would open. So, I wouldn't be surprised with them trying different things tomorrow just to figure out what is their best side moving forward in this tournament.